Alright, ladies and gentlemen, you know the song. It's James Freel, and it's time for the James Freel Show. You may be asking yourself, hey James, why do you sound like garbage again? Well, I'm bootlegging this episode, and an explanation for that will come in due time. I actually can't hear the song right now, and again, that will be explained. But we have an upcoming show. We've got a lot to talk about, and happy to have you with me. So, like I said, I can't hear the song, so I generally like to ramble until it's over, but in this case, we're just going to wing it. Interestingly, this is actually my second time trying this. I finished an entire 30 minutes, and I'm using a software that I haven't been familiar with in a while, and I Command-Z'd it, and I thought, oh, I can just Command-Y it, bring it right back. No, but in a way, it's kind of a good thing, because let's just say the first episode was a swing and a miss, so I have a second chance here, and I would not have been motivated to try again had I not lost it, but I'm determined to keeping my streak going. So, that being said, let's move into the news for the uninformed. Alright, our top story: a rapidly expanding wildfire surged into parts of the northern Californian city of Redding and surrounding areas late Thursday. This sent residents racing to escape the inferno. Early Friday, state officials expanded a mandatory evacuation area for the fire, known as the Car Fire, ordering people to leave immediately in the cities of in Summit and Shasta Lake. Jeez, it's late. Which is about 7 miles northwest of Redding, and have more than 10,000 residents combined. Wow. Well, person who's in charge of my news didn't give me any more information, but let's hope everyone's safe. Sounds like a scary situation. In sports, the New York Yankees have taken a major blow, losing Aaron Judge, one of their best hitters, in a victory over the Kansas City Royals on Thursday. The Yankee says Aaron Judge, who was hit by a pitch in the first inning by the Royals starter Jacob Yunes, will not need surgery, but will need at least 3 weeks before he can swing a bat in a game situation. Now, last I checked, Yankees are about 3 or 4 games back from the Boston Red Sox. That's interesting how that rivalry is still going strong, and for as old as it is, they're both still a competitive team. Then again, I've only been into baseball for about 10 or 15 years now, so that accounts for what? 5% of the Major League Baseball, so what do I know? And in pop culture, new mother Cardi B announced on Instagram Thursday that she'll be skipping Bruno Mars's upcoming fall arena tour to spend more time with her child before heading back to work. Well, sounds like a responsible mother. I've heard a little bit of her music. It's alright. It sounds like she's sort of cornering in on the Nicki Minaj culture. I'm sure there's I wonder how those two feel about each other. Kind of seems like the Lady Gaga Madonna feud. Of course, what do I know about that? That's generational and not really cultural. All right, before I go into the topics, I got a little bit of housekeeping to do. So, Conversations with James Freel. I had another guest on last Saturday, and I think it went very well. As I've said before, I have not anticipated the level of editing that is required to get one of these shows up, but I'm going to go ahead and use his name because he was a great guest, and I hope to have the show up soon. David Campbell. It's one of the best shows I've had yet. We had a great time. I actually lost our last segment, but it's still a good show, so look for that, and as well as other episodes to come out soon, because I think there's some great work on that. I think it's much more entertaining than what I do here, and worth a listen. So keep an eye out for that. Alright, so now we can jump into the topics in the rambling section. So, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, you may ask yourself, James, why do you sound like garbage again? Well, I'm in a new location right now. I decided it's not worth dragging all of my studio equipment with me all the way down south to a town called Oxford, Ohio, which you may be familiar with. If you follow college football, you know there's always They always have to specify which Miami they're talking about in the corner in the scoreboard on ESPN. They'll say Miami and in parentheses either Florida or Ohio. Well, this one is the reason why you have to specify. Even though, now I did hear, I think the University of Miami in Oxford was a university before Florida was even a state. So do with that information what you will, but kind of gives them the edge. But generally speaking, when you say Miami University in sports, you're talking about Florida. You are. They're much more relevant. Miami, Ohio hasn't been relevant since the early 2000s, and I'm pretty sure that's the only time they've been relevant on the national stage. It's kind of amazing to me that they even were at one point, because there are a lot of randy colleges that every now and then pop up in the top 25. But I digress. That's where I am, and this is definitely a college town. And one thing I really hate about college towns, at least in my experience, I've been to quite a few. I've been to Athens, Ohio, home of Ohio University. Toledo's not really a college town. It's more of just a city in a town. But nonetheless, it still qualifies for this. Clifton, Ohio, home of University of Cincinnati. Again, not really a college town, more of just a college that happens to be in a city, but the principle still holds. Everything in these towns are more expensive and of lesser quality. It's just everything is so. It's almost as though in a normal town, I mean, maybe this is just me being self-centered. I like what I like. I don't want to change things. Where I live is how the world ought to be, and it's almost as though everything from where I'm from doubles in price, because half of it you lose from it being more expensive, and the other half you lose from the quality being worse. And I gotta say, I don't fit in college towns. I didn't fit in my own college town when I was in college, so even when I'm here. A good example of that was when I was about 14, 15 years old. I was in a college town, and my brother and I were driving, and I was really hungry. He had to go do an errand really quick. It was only like 10 minutes. And I told him, well, hey, can you drop me off at this Jimmy John's really quick? I'll run in, I'll come back out. And by the time I'm back out, you can just circle around. I'll hop back in the car. It'll work out great. And we're like, okay, that'll work. The principle of more expensive and less quality held there, but that's not the point of this story. So I get out, and I'm standing, and there's just a sea of bumper-to-bumper traffic moving in front of me, and I'm standing there, and right next door to this Jimmy John's is a bar. And keep in mind, I'm about 14 at the time. And there are a few college students sitting on the deck of the bar, enjoying a Friday evening, consuming their time at a bar, you doing what you do. And I'm standing there, and I start to hear them talk about me. And I got to do my best to pretend like I can't hear it, because what am I going to do? And they start getting the impression that I'm trying to cross the street. So they start saying things like, oh, he's playing Frogger, and like, go now, go, as if I could make it when I clearly couldn't. It was just this small, steady flow of bumper-to-bumper traffic going by, and I wasn't. And at one point, they were like, oh, if you can dodge traffic, you can dodge a ball. It made me feel really dumb. But eventually, at one point, I think one of them did say something along the lines of, I think he's waiting to get picked up. Because the other thing was, there was a crosswalk about 15 yards away from me. So I guess it would make me look like an idiot if I actually was trying to cross the road right there, given that it was that situation. But I hopped back in the car, and I really had the urge to make an obscene gesture towards them the moment I got in, because, you're in the car, you're running away. I wanted them to know that I did hear them, even though I pretended the whole time that I didn't. That was one of those moments that sticks with you. Alright, how am I doing on time? This is going a lot better than the first one. Still not great. As I mentioned on last week's show, I was very disappointed with the level of it. Level of quality, rather. But so far, doing a little better than before. This week I got the oil changed in my car. And I'm like 24 years old. Okay? I'm still pretty young. I'm relatively young. I like to think that I'm still young. If anyone over the age of 40 is listening, they're probably thinking, that's so young. And I'll take that as a compliment. I enjoy being young. But I never feel younger or more like a small boy than when I'm getting my oil changed, especially at this corporate chain that I go to. It's one of those places where you drive up, they wave their arms, you can come into deck 3, they make you feel like you're in an airport. They're like, we got hangar 409 right here, you can come in. They've got those flashlights where they're waving you in and making it seem like a more important... Maybe it is official, I don't know. And then next to you, you roll down your window, there's the guy, he's going to give you the sales pitch on what you need to be doing and explaining everything. And I'll give him this, they are pretty witty, pretty funny people. They got some pretty good jokes. At least their jokes aren't funny, but their delivery is great. I handed him $40 and he's like, ink's a little dry, but I'll take it. And you know, the joke is, as anyone who's ran a cashier before, I just printed that off this morning. You've heard the joke a million times, but his delivery was very good. But they make you feel guilty about your car. And I understand, it's a business. They have an incentive for you to do as much as you can there. But they definitely make me feel young and like I have no idea what I'm doing. It's like that episode of Seinfeld where Robert from Everybody Loves Raymond is Jerry's mechanic, and he just does everything to make him feel guilty about the way he treats his cars. Like, do you rotate the tires? I try to. You don't try to, you do it. Regardless, it's always a skeptical thing to whether or not you should listen to them, because I gotta tell you, like I said, they have an incentive to make sales, and the thing is, they're probably right on most of it if you follow the actual sale. The only reason I have not to listen to it is the reason what happened this past time. So about 10,000 miles, more like. It was about 3 oil changes ago, so about 10,000 miles ago. I had saved up some. I like to do this once a year. I just save up around $800 or $900 and say, hey, take care of my car, tune it up, whatever you think needs to be done, do it, keep it under this price. Generally, it ends up being around $700, but I do that to try to keep it in shape, keep it taken care of. So last time I was in, they gave me a list. And I still have the receipt. It was back in 27. It was April of 2017. And I got my serpentine belt replaced because I'm around 120. You're supposed to have it done every 100,000. And I had my transmission fluid change, which you're supposed to do every 60,000. So I come in about 10,000 miles. This is about 10,000 miles later. And as I said, they give you the sales pitch on what you need. This is the same exact venue I was at before, not the same chain, like the same exact franchise. I go in and they give me the sales pitch, and what do they tell me I need? All right, well, you're at this mileage, so you're due for a new serpentine belt and transmission fluid. And isn't it crazy, the two most expensive procedures? And I keep all car receipts in my car. I pull it out. I don't shove it in his face like, hey, look, I just had that done, but I checked it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pass today. And he does the whole, okay, well, I'm like, I know I just had this done. I was very tempted to show it to him. Like, buddy, I think this might even be your name on the receipt. I don't know, they all look the same to me. Whoops, shouldn't have said that. You know, grease monkeys, they kind of all have that same kind of, especially the ones when they wear like a white lab coat and they have a clipboard, then you know you're getting screwed. You know it's bad then, because they like to act like they're a professional. But that was the only reason why I became skeptical of whether I should believe them or not. And also, I have had people I've had second opinions on cars for car jobs, and people have told me, yeah, I guarantee you they're lying to you. You're a young guy. I once had a guy. I was once told that I had oil leaking into a piston. Not a piston. I don't know about cars. Oh shoot, what are those? The spark plugs. That's it. He said I had oil leaking in the spark plug, and I brought it to another car guy I know personally. Brought it out. He showed me each individual piston. He's like, there's no evidence of oil anywhere. So that's that. So I guess there is some reason to be skeptical, but the one thing is I don't want to at all pretend like I've outsmarted the car people. Because they do know what they're talking about to an extent. And I gotta wonder if they feel like they get this little sick, demented sense of satisfaction if they ever came across someone broken down on the side of the road and it was someone who turned down the service. I'm genuinely curious if they would be like, should have listened to me. I mean, I'll be honest with you, if I was in that job, I'd probably do something like that. I got a little sick thrill from, I was a cashier telling people their coupons expired. We're all human. I'm sure they get that sort of feeling. Alright, a lot less on this edition, which is a good thing. Maybe there is. I'm not listening to myself, and no one's listening either, which is probably a good thing. Moving on. So, on, I believe it was either episode 29 or episode 30, I went on a rant about how, for the life of me, I can't seem to finish 5 minutes on the elliptical. I used to be able to do 30 minutes. It would be tough, but I could get it done. Put in some earbuds, start plowing away on it, power through it. You're good. About 3-4 weeks ago, I get on. For the life of me, I can't finish 5 minutes, and I think, all right, maybe the tension's turned up way too much. Maybe, let me just adjust it. Let me turn it all the way down. Nope, still can't do more than 5 minutes. It's very frustrating for me, especially, and very disheartening. It's like, wow, I used to be able to do this. What happened? Well, it turns out the tension belt on it was in a knot, and once I clinked that out and lowered it all the way to the lowest amount of resistance, I realized, oh, this is way too easy, and I was able to raise it back up to the medium level where I was comfortable. So that's a big sigh of relief, and I can now finish it, so that's the reason why. And I'll be honest, I've given up on the idea of doing the elliptical to get the P90X body, because I don't even think cardio does that for you. I think you actually have to lift weights for that, which I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to that issue. The biggest reason I like doing it is it gives you self-confidence. It's like, hey, I just knocked out 30 minutes on this thing. Come at me. Really, James? You do 30 minutes on an elliptical and you think you can now take on someone in a fight? Good luck to you. Good luck. Sometimes I feel that way. Like I said, it gives you self-confidence. For one, another reason I like doing it is, probably the best reason, is it helps me sleep. Really, it just getting rid of all that extra energy, especially when you come home from a really bad day of whatever it is you're doing, whether it be school or work, and you just have all that negative energy in your stomach, and you just sort of, the last thing you feel like doing is any physical activity. But if you can just mentally push yourself into the room, the first 2 minutes suck, but then all of a sudden it's like that knot is just slowly but surely untying itself. I really hope I don't come across as some sort of fitness guru, because if you met me, you'd be like, yeah, that guy doesn't go to the gym ever. What's he talking? If this was a video thing, this could wind up in one of those cringe compilation things. But also getting back to counting calories, a lot of people tell me it doesn't work, and when you really start to peel back the argument they have and unpack it, you start to see that what they mean really isn't what they're trying to convey, because they say, oh, it doesn't work, don't do it. And I'm not saying, okay, let me make it clear. I think there are good arguments on both sides, but I do it because it prevents me from overeating, because I have a bad habit of feeling full, but I keep eating, and normally if I stop eating, like where I know is the right place to stop, and I wait 20 minutes, then I feel fine. But regardless, here's my thing, here's my allegory for counting calories, okay? I'm going to use a baseball analogy. Alright, so calories, in my opinion, are like strikeouts. Alright, I spent a lot of time thinking this up. It's over. I think I came up with this in 2016, actually. So, in the game of baseball, you can have more strikes than the other team, more strikeouts than as in you pitched more strikeouts, and still lose the game. Likewise, you can strike out more than the other team and still win. Now, that being the case, that doesn't make it irrelevant, just like you can count calories and gain weight. You can not count calories and lose weight. You can count calories and be healthy. You can be it can depend. But here's my argument for those who just say, oh, well, it doesn't work. Well, yeah, it may not work the way you think, but most of their arguments, actually, if you break it down, is that it doesn't work because people don't stick to it. Well, then it's not it not working, it's people not sticking to it, so it doesn't have a chance to work. And yes, I do think there's a very good case to be made that people don't stick to it. I've been on and off the counting calories bandwagon like probably 4 or 5 times over the past 2 years, and I've probably been off more than I've been on. If you add it up every day in my journal, I probably only have about 8 months worth of it. But nonetheless, when I do it, it seems to work. I feel better. I don't overeat as much, which I see as a good thing. Back to my analogy. So, saying counting calories doesn't work, don't do it. Don't do it because it doesn't work is like me saying, well, you can still strike out more players and lose the game, so why are we worrying about pitching? There's no reason to. You can still... No, you still have to focus on it. It is a factor. I sound like a real asshole right now because I've said before on here, people who rant about your diet are as annoying as religious nuts. And I'm sorry, it's just one thing that because it annoys me when people go, well, actually, technically, if you're going to be technical about it, counting calories is not an effective metric for if you want to be dietarily sufficient. Shut up. It works for me. And the other thing is, the laws of physics. If you put less into something, you're going to get less. Your body is subject to it. So the argument you should be making is people don't stick to it. Well, that doesn't mean don't try it. Okay. But it feels good. I'm also going to cut back on alcohol. I'm going to limit myself to twice a month. Because I'm starting to get older. I'm still young, but we can cut these habits out sooner rather than later. I don't think I have a serious problem, but when you wake up on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning, just like, ugh, jeez, that can't be good for your body. You can't. You feel like garbage. You can't keep putting yourself through that. At least I don't think I should. And I do much more than I'd like to admit. So that's that. All right, we're starting to wrap up the summer. It's already almost over. Well, can you believe it already? Yes, I can. That's how years work. But you know what that means? That means I'm back to my old job and back to the 40-hour work week, and I gotta say, I can't wait. I'm actually gonna have more of a 50-hour work week because I've got my second job back also, and it'll just help bring my self-esteem back because I have not worked at all the past 2 months. Now, I was okay financially because I saved up and I gave myself an allotted amount each week. There's something about you're just like when you're not bringing in anything and you're just putting... When the bank of you is putting out more than it's taking in, it's just it can hurt your esteem. So it's good to have pride back in yourself, going in, working, and I gotta say the elliptical worked out a lot better when I was there. It was a great way to come home, and he just tied it back in. Like I said, I'm in a hotel room right now. I'm genuinely curious if I'm going to be able to visualize myself when I come back and listen to this, because let's be honest, I'm going to be the one listening to this more than any other person is. Exactly. I gotta say, I like to belittle myself on here and talk about, I just do this for fun, as a defense mechanism. The truth is, it would be pretty neat if I had like a following of 100 or 200 people who listened. But that's probably not going to happen because I do this every week as a way of trying to get myself better. But a lot of it is it's all crap. So people will be able to go back. I'm never going to be able to run for any sort of office. People can pull that back. Is this guy talking about how car dealerships are college towns are not awful? I don't know. I'm gonna lose some sort of demographic. Shut up. I'm gonna hear that, and it's just not gonna work. So my political career was over before it began. No more. Stop it. Yeah, I'm in a hotel right now. I hope no one across the hallway can hear me. Yeah. Is that someone, or room service knocked on the door or something? Who am I kidding? I don't stay in a hotel nice enough for room service. It's about my 4th time staying in Oxford, Ohio. Similar hotel each time. It is what it is. But What can I say about hotels that haven't already been said? Hotels are like they're second only to airports when it comes to what comedians talk about. What's the deal with the chocolate they leave on? It's all been said, so I'm not even going to try to make an observational joke about anything, but I could not imagine living in some sort of lifestyle that required you being in a hotel that often. Even if they get nice, you're going to get used to it, and it's going to suck. Because the first day you come in, it feels really cool. It feels like you're on vacation. Next few days, you start to set in that you're in like I don't know how big, like 30 by 20 room, and it's not really a good living condition whatsoever. It just feels drab, and you start realizing it's just you. It's kind of like a jail with carpet and maybe a little clean. It's not that bad. Did he just say that criminals get to stay in a hotel? No. I'm just rambling at this point because I still have to fill in 4 more minutes. It sounds really glamorous. We think about these rock stars or these people who tour around constantly getting to stay in nice hotels. I can see it slowly but surely getting old. I really do think that. So it's July 27th, 2018. I didn't mention that in the opener, and you know what that means. Football season is less than a week away for preseason, and I'll take it. Preseason is preseason. It always sneaks up on you because you never think about football really starting up until September. And July, I've always said, is the fastest month of the year. It goes by quicker than any month. It lasts about 3 seconds. July. Before you know it, it's already 2019. But because the Hall of Fame game, it's like a week out from regular preseason starting up. So I think this year we got the Ravens and the Bears. Yeah, I'm not from Chicago. You guys know who my team is, but I have, when it comes to the Bears and the Packers are like the best rivalry in the NFL. And I definitely come down on the Bears side of that argument, even though I will give a hats off to the Packers for taking care of the Steelers back in Super Bowl 40. That was 42. 40, I think it was 45. Yeah. Hey James, you remember that time you had I don't even care. I've made that joke about 4 or 5 times. All right. So what more can be said about hotels? Not much. Now I'm just sitting here, filling up time. Tell you what I like about libraries. Each library is kind of different in their level of volume policy. I've been in 2 different libraries this past week. I gotta say, one of them's like a public library. And I guess because it's the summer and they want more kids to come in, they just sort of turn a blind eye to kids being loud in a library. Because half the library is the kids zone now. That when I was a kid, they had like a corner and it said kids corner. Now half the library is for kids. I just hear I'm trying to study. I'm trying to do work. That's why I came to a library. Man, 24 already sounded like a curmudgeon-y old man. In my day, cringe. Wow, can I find anything else to be mad about? Can I find anything? Yeah, I'm sure that's really good for my state of being. Let's just be negative all the time. That's who people want to hang out with. And those are the kind of podcasts people want to listen to, by the way. It's people complaining about stuff and no sort of articulate. Shut up. Alright, I think that's going to do it for this week. I was hoping to bounce back from last week's flaming dumpster pile of a show. It's slightly better. This take is slightly better than the one I just did, but it's still not the best. Next week is probably going to be bootlegged like this one also, so I wouldn't recommend listening to this or any of my others. But, you know me, still do this, still chugging along. Keep an eye out for an upcoming episode of Conversations with James Freel, especially, like I said, the one I just did this past week. Special thanks to David Campbell. He was great on it. It was very entertaining. We only got to do about an hour because, like I said, we lost the 3rd segment. But even the first 2, we had a great conversation and a great time. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully I'll have it up soon. And enjoy your weekend, everybody. I'll see you next week, or you'll hear from me next week.